Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to get started in just another minute. Just one quick housekeeping item while we're waiting for everyone to join. We do have the Q&A available, so if you have questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A section. We'll be answering those throughout the presentation, as well as towards the end, we'll have an opportunity for going through some of those questions for you. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to hand it over to Justine and Christian, who are both on my team and are going to be leading the webinar today.
Awesome. Thanks, Becky, and thanks for everyone for joining. So on our next slide, just going to walk through a high-level agenda for today. First, we're going to walk through recently released admin features, specifically for expense. Justine will walk through some of those slides. Next, we'll cover coming soon items. So these, are on our near-term roadmap. I'll cover those. And then we'll demo a couple of those recently released features live on the call. And then we're going to take some questions, whether they come through the live chat. We know some of you submitted questions ahead of time, so we'll try and address as many of those as possible. And then we'll wrap it up, for today. Other thing we want to touch on today is about you. Obviously, this is us at Navan sharing, product updates. But really, all this is for the benefit of, our expense admins. So please, any feedback about the things you see, any questions that you may have, please send them over. You all, help us make our product better. So appreciate any and all feedback from today. Quick intro about myself. I'm Christian. I'm a mid-market solutions consultant. So if I've worked with you before, nice to see you again. I've been at Navan for about a year, and I'm located in San Francisco. So bright and early for my fellow West Coasters, but appreciate everyone for joining the call today.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Justine Iltis. I'm a senior bin market solutions consultant here at Navan. Prior to Navan, I was part of a global travel and expense team and actually worked with Navan as a customer. I made the move to Navan last fall, about 8 months ago, and I'm located in West Michigan. So I'm going to start with some recently released items. So the first is our Slack integration. So this is a really exciting feature for all of our customers that use Slack. So the idea is to meet approvers and users where they are, making expense submission and approving transactions as seamless as possible. So this feature is currently in beta and it will be rolled out in a few different phases. So that first phase will be manager and approver notifications in Slack. So managers and approvers will receive Slack notification reminders every Wednesday at 9 a.m., summarizing all of their ready to approve transactions that are pending their approval. And then in following phases, we'll actually give the ability to take action on transactions directly from Slack. So managers and approvers can actually approve, reject, and request more information on a transaction, all without leaving Slack. And then users will have the ability to upload receipts, add participants, descriptions, etc., and be notified of any pending tasks through Slack as well. All right. Next is the ability to rename default user attributes. So this just was released last week. So this feature allows you to rename the four standard HR attributes that exist in our user list. So the department, region, cost center, and subsidiary. So once these are renamed, the custom names will replace the default attribute name everywhere in the product. So everywhere in the UI and in your data exports. So this allows for greater customization and allows you to align the naming with your internal org structure. And you can easily rename these fields in the organization section. All right, next are two policy related updates. So you now have the ability to require a description for transactions. So this can be configured on the expense type level and set as required in the custom field section. The second update is the ability to require review for all. So this gives you the ability to require review for all transactions while still having reasonable policy limits in place. Until now, in order to send all transactions for approval, you had to set your policy to 0. So now when you're reviewing transactions, you can clearly see which transactions actually violate your policy limits versus the ones that just needed to be reviewed. And this also works for dual approvals, so you have the ability to require secondary approval for all expenses, in addition to just transactions over a flag limit or a specific threshold. All right. If you have employees that are paying for their travel with personal cards and then submitting for reimbursement, this is a really exciting new feature. Navan monitors the travel booking statuses and can actually detect when a booking is fully or partially refunded. So, for example, if an employee books a flight on Navan with their personal card and then submits for reimbursement, but later on the airline cancels the flight and issues them a refund, since the employee already received reimbursement from your company, they have essentially been double paid. So Navan can automatically request repayment from the employee. So you as an admin don't need to manually check to see if they have been refunded and manually request repayment. So this can all be automated for you. So this setting is available in your payments and expensing section. And also as expense admins, you can track the repayment requests in your analysis dashboard. All right, next is expense trips. So this feature allows employees to create a new trip to associate their expenses with, even if they haven't booked travel yet or if they booked their travel outside of Navan. So for example, if they book through a conference room block or something like that. So this also allows employees with trip-enabled cards to activate their cards, and they also can associate all of their trip expenses with that trip for better visibility and reporting. All right, expense advances. So these are essentially cash advances where the user can request funds before their trip to avoid having to front any personal money. So the employee will submit their expense advance request, and then once approved, they will receive those funds either directly to their bank account if your company is using flexible reimbursements, or they will receive the funds through your internal reimbursement or payroll process. And then as the employee incurs expenses on their trip, they will submit the transactions against that expense advance. So every dollar is accounted for. And then Navan can automatically calculate any remaining funds so the employee can repay for any of those unused funds. And Christian will actually be demoing this later on. All right, so we're using AI in a lot of really exciting ways. And today I wanted to highlight a few new and upcoming features we're rolling out to simplify and automate the approval workflow for managers, expense admins, and approvers. So the first is intelligent suggested responses. So when you request more information from a user, Navan will actually draft a contextual request based on your previous requests, all the transaction details, and any flag information. So you don't have to type out or copy and paste, please add a receipt or any other common messages that you might send. And then taking this a step further, we're also working on suggested intelligent actions. So with this feature, we'll actually be looking at how your specific admins and approvers are actioning flag transactions, as well as a variety of other factors such as your policy configuration, your travel booking data, and using that to actually come up with the suggested action that you should take on that flag transaction. So, for example, if you have a taxi and rideshare policy limit of $75, but you are regularly approving on-trip Uber expenses up to $100, we might suggest that you approve a flagged Uber expense for $80 because your past actions, and then also we can see that the expense aligns with the start date of a trip that they're on. So that's one example. All right, and the next is intelligent transaction routing. So previously, when you requested more information on a transaction, you would need to manually check if the user completed that requested action or not. So this feature eliminates those manual steps to follow up on that transaction that you have requested more information on. So now when the user completes your request, such as attaching the receipt, adding the business purpose, etc., the transactions will automatically be moved to the appropriate queue, so either to flagged or to the approved queue. And all three of those features that I just talked through are currently in beta. And then the last one, we are working on smart custom field suggestions as well. So this is an upcoming feature that will help auto-populate custom fields and GL codes according to your expense patterns, your user attributes, and ERP history. So more to come on this feature soon. All right, next is transaction grouping or group by. So this is also currently in beta. This provides a flexible transaction view and allows admins, managers, and approvers to group transactions by user or trip. So it provides a high-level folder type overview, giving you the details such as the trip name, dates of the trip, transaction total, the number of transactions, and also flag transactions. And so I also will be demoing this later, so I'll share a little bit more information later on. All right. So we also recently released the ability to duplicate manual expenses. So this allows users to really quickly and easily recreate any manual expenses, either ones they have already submitted or ones that are still in draft state. So a lot of the key transaction details like the merchant amount, expense type, and more will carry over to reduce the number of clicks required to create your new manual transaction. So this is really great if you're expensing mileage often between your home and a certain location or things like that that are easily repeatable. So this helps automate that for you.
Awesome. Think it's my turn. Cool. So on the next slide, so this will be all features that are coming, in the following weeks and months. First one here is United Notification Center. So on our Navan profile today, you see the ability to customize notifications, but those are really for travel only. So this release will cover a couple different areas. One is we want to combine travel notifications with expense notifications and approval notifications. So all of those will live in one spot within your profile, and you can change the frequency with which you see specific notifications and which notification source you prefer. Additionally, one thing we've heard is delegates, want to see the notifications that their executives are seeing. So we're now adding that functionality as well. The ready to action filter, this is actually something that's live in the platform today. So what we did is we have a little toggle for approvers of transactions where if they don't want to see transactions that are missing a receipt, missing a custom field, pending some user action, those are being filtered out. And then last but not least, we're incorporating, the Slack integration. So all this will work together to make notifications, more controllable and also more easily digestible depending on, your preferences. Next one here. So Navan MCP. What is an MCP? I asked myself the same question. What it is it's a way to actually uh, ingest Navan data through your preferred large language model or AI model provider. Um, so if you're talking to your execs, say MCP, but really what it is just AI connection, you could say. And so what you can do is you can type in, natural language, asking basic questions, whether it's about transactions, how many transactions did people make in this period, getting summaries of specific transactions, referencing policies of expenses, but all different kinds of things that you can ask uh, your LLM, and it will reference Navan data and get you those answers for you. So super exciting. For those interested, we're going to start, we'll show you how to set it up with developer documentation. But in the coming weeks, we're actually working with, some of the largest LLM providers to actually have a native connection in their connection store. So should be super exciting. Next here is expanded itemization capabilities. So if you've used our itemization today, it works, but there's definitely some room for improvement. And so here are the ways we are improving that. First is percentage-based allocation. So instead of having to, think, hey, I need to split this 5 ways. What's 20% of this number? You can just do 20%, 20%, 20%. However else you want to split it, just based off a percentage. So that should be super efficient. Additionally, if you have the same split across, many transactions, you had one whole trip that was split between, two cost centers or something, you can just apply that same split to many transactions. So no need to, click into each one and do the same thing over again. And then last but not least, similarly, you can do bulk actions on those items. So again, just trying to make it more efficient. And so less clicks is always the goal there. Next is automated accruals. The accrual process, I don't think any accountant's favorite part of month end, but Navan is hoping to improve that for you. So we're going to, based on how you think about accruals, we're going to populate transactions for you that would fall within your accrual guidelines. If you have a native ERP integration with Navan, we're going to work on automating that entry for you. So we'll make the end of period entry and then the auto reversal for your next period. And then again, admin control, so you can turn it off or on. Control kind of what gets populated in this entry, and basically, use it to hopefully automate your accruals for you fully within Navan. And then last but not least here, if you've been seeing recently, we're really trying to improve our native integrations. So one of our recent releases was incorporating all different expense types from a Navan statement through accounting review. And so, the additional step on top of this is actually supporting your statement payments to Navan and filtering those in accounting review. So you can easily reconcile your payments to the transactions that you're seeing in Navan, and it basically should incorporate all transactions from Navan, whether they're from Navan cards, reimbursements, any of the different fees, and now capturing your payments to Navan as well. So full cycle in terms of your accounting life cycle with Navan. Cool. And then before we get into questions, we'll actually do a couple of live demos here first.
All right, so I'm going to demo our group by feature. Okay, so with group by, expense admins, managers, and approvers all have additional view options when reviewing transactions. So you'll see this new group by button with the option to group by user or trip. So here, when I group by trip, you get a really nice overview of the trip name, the dates, the employee name, the total of all the related transactions, also the number of transactions and the number of flag transactions. We also have a new trip status feature where you can filter on upcoming, completed, ongoing, or canceled trips. You can also sort the groupings. So you can sort the trips by oldest to newest, or if you are grouping by user, you can sort the names alphabetically as well. So you can click the drop down to see all of the transactions that are associated with this trip, and you can click into them to view them in the side sheet or in the full transaction as normal.
Really quick, Justine, on that one, there's a question about reassigning an expense to another approver. Can you show that really quickly?
Yeah, sure. So with the three dots over here, you have the option to either assign to the employee's manager or assign to another approver. So you can do that by clicking these three dots here.
Perfect, thank you.
So if you want to bulk select all of the transactions related to the trip, you can easily bulk approve, reject, request more information, or do other bulk actions as well. And then the groupings can also be used in conjunction with all of our other filters, including our recently released ready to approve toggle as well. And then while I'm here, I will demonstrate how the suggested responses works too. So when you are requesting more information, Navan will automatically add a suggested response based on what is missing from the transaction or from the flags, and also on previous requests that you have sent to the employee. So this will auto-populate, and you can either submit it or you can edit it if you want to change it a little bit. But that should avoid you having to copy and paste or type all of this out every single time.
Perfect. And then we have a question from Francesca about a functionality to have a second approver for expenses. I'm going to put you on the spot, Justine. If you could do a quick little demo of the dual approval.
Yes.
And to answer your question, while she gets set up, Francesca, yes, you can put a second approval or somebody, an additional approver on for a transaction, and it is at the individual policy level.
Yes, yep. So you will set that up in the policy section. So you will go to your specific policy exception, and in the approval section, you will see the option where you can set your primary approver. So this can be expense admin, the user's manager, a custom field response approver, or a specific individual. And then to add a secondary approver, you will just toggle on add an additional approver. And you can also select who that approver will be, whether you want it to be expense admin, the user's manager, a custom field response approver, or again, a specific individual. And then you can require these for all expenses that exceed the flag limit, or you also have the option to set a different threshold. So if you want, this to be a higher threshold than the flag limit, or lower, and then you can either require both approvers or skip the primary approver and go right to that secondary approver only. And then once the option to require review for all is available, you'll see another option here that says require review, secondary review for all.
Perfect. Thank you. And then there was kind of going back to the transaction grouping or group by, there are just a couple questions about when that will be available. That is in beta now. So if you would like to be on the beta, please reach out to your account manager and we can get you on the beta. Otherwise, it will be available in GA in the coming weeks and you can take advantage of it then.
All right, Christian, I'll pass it over to you.
Awesome. I will share my screen and I will demo the expense advance feature. So Justine touched on this slightly earlier, but I'll walk through from both the admin and the user perspective. So getting into admin. Taking a second here. But first, what I'll walk through is how to configure your expense advance policies and the different options available to you there. So going under policy, under configuration, we'll go to settings, payments and expensing, and then expense advance. So this is where you'll configure the different settings for your expense advances. So first, like any Navan policy, you have the option for general policy, or you can make policy exceptions. And then those will be the folks who may or may not have access to this policy. You'll set a GL code for the expense advance itself, the sending of funds to the user, enabled, not enabled. And then this expense window. So the way expense advances work, I'll show it on the user side, but users will specify, hey, I need this advance from this date to this date. And then what this expense window is how many days after the end of their advance window, they can still submit expenses towards that advance. So 30 days is standard, but if you want to make it longer, make it shorter, you can adjust that here. If you want to add custom fields to your expense advances, you can do that as well. And then last but not least, similar to actually what Justine just showed, you can have a primary approver, secondary approver, but these will be the people responsible for approving the initial advance to the end user. Now, if I go to the end user perspective, I'll go to just make any normal manual transaction, the same way. But once I have this policy enabled for my user, I'm going to see request expense advance here. And now from here, we're going to ask some basic questions. What's the name of this expense advance? It could be travel related. It could be not travel related. I'm going to copy the term from our help article. But again, you can use it kind of for whatever purpose. And then so this is that spend start date. So this is going to be the spend period in which the user is expected to utilize these funds. So it'll be at some point in the future. We can say June 1st to June 6th. And then again, I will be expensing transactions during this time period. And then the user will also submit the amount. So the user will specify, how much they need, say $2,000. And then I can, add some additional information. Want to make sure, it's robust for the approvers. But then I'll go ahead and submit the request. And so that request will then, go in the queue based on, who was set up for the approvals. We can see is now pending review. And so once this advance gets approved, the user will receive the funds based on their current reimbursement method. So whether that's direct deposit or whether that's payroll, they'll receive the lump sum. And then the last little piece of this is when the user, is now within that expense window and they make purchases, using their personal payment method, they'll see an option here. I don't have it here because I don't have a live advance. But when they click new transaction, they will actually see in the dropdown the option to claim against an expense advance. So again, I have $2,000, lump sum. As I make those purchases within that spend window, I'm going to put those against my expense advance. Reason for that is if I don't, submit those expenses against my advance, the company is going to ask me to repay the difference of what I didn't spend. So it's not like a per diem. It's not like, depending on company policy, you could make it a per diem. But from the expected behavior, any unspent funds from the advance will be repaid to the company. But those are the basics of the expense advance. I'm actually going to drop a help desk article in the chat here. But I think with that, those are the demos. And so we can take the rest of the time to answer questions.
Perfect. Thanks, team. A somewhat related question that came in from Gordy about per diems and when those are available to redeem or when you're eligible for per diems. So those are actually once the trip has started, the per diems can begin to be claimed. So if you're looking for something different, perhaps the advanced thing that Christian was just talking through might be an option for you. If not, please reach out to your account manager. There are a couple other things that are in motion right now that might be applicable to you. But reach out to your account manager and they'll be able to get you in contact with somebody who can talk through that in more detail. And then there were quite a few questions about summary of documentation, what is currently released and what's coming soon, and just more context on that and getting more updated information on that. So there are Pendo notifications. Actually, Christian or Justine, if one of you wants to share your screen really quick and just highlight where those Pendo notifications are, those are always available. So any upcoming and recently released product enhancements are always available in those Pendo notifications when you log in as an admin, but you can also reach out to your account manager at any time and they can tell you what's coming out on the roadmap and what's currently available or recently released as well. Yep, perfect. So there's your Pendo notifications, and then within your Pendo notification, you have a couple different categories. So you have your travel and expense, and then that'll talk through any of the different releases that were recently launched, and there's also a link to our recently released product enhancements page, which will talk through any of the enhancements that have come out and help articles to each one of those. But again, account managers are great resource for you if you have any questions about any of those recently released or upcoming releases that we have on the roadmap. Then Mara has a question about a demo for the Slack expense approval flow and how it syncs back into Navan. That would be a good question. Reach out to your account manager. There is, so it's an ongoing enhancement that we're currently working through. So there are some features that are available in beta right now, but that is something that we can help get you more information on those additional enhancements that are coming, as well as a little bit more detail on what that will look like and when those enhancements will be available. See. And see, I think Christian, you might have answered this one, but the justifying, let's see, adding receipts to expenses from the cash advance. If you happen to have that open still and could maybe just show that quickly.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a live one I can work off of, but let
Okay,
me share from our help desk. One
perfect.
second. Right, share my screen. Here we go. Also, big shout out to our help center articles. I use them all the time, so definitely recommend those. Um, yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a visual here, but kind of the way like I clicked in to make a expense advance request. Once you click that new transaction dropdown, there will just be an additional option for claim against cash advance. And so whether it's a meal, whether it's a taxi, whatever that expense is, you'll just specify which advance that expense goes against. And then what will happen, let's say it's $50, the amount of that advance will be reduced by the $50. So again, you'll work against that um, to the degree that you do against your initial cash advance.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's see. Few more questions in here just about additional information about some of these enhancements. Again, just reach out to your account manager. They'll be able to get you in touch with somebody who can talk through those in more detail if they don't have that information available themselves. Some of the stuff that's coming out soon and isn't currently available in beta. Those designs are kind of work in progress. So some of that stuff we don't have the ability to kind of show or demo for you quite yet, but that will be we'll be sure to have that available and demo for you in next month's admin office hours. So be sure to attend that as well to continue to stay updated on all of those enhancements that we are making available. And then a couple questions here about application of GL validation and supporting of business units. So that is very specific to your company and your configuration, but that's something that we can definitely support. So I'd encourage you to reach out to your account manager. If it's something that they're not able to support with, they can put you in contact with one of us on the expense team who can provide additional help and support in getting that configured exactly as needed. And then one other question here, Justine or Christian, if you want to pop in and just show how to use the mark receipt unavailable. Just have a question about where that is and what that looks like for the end user.
One of us is going to be able to pull up an expense we can do this on probably quicker, but it's a race until then.
All right, looking for
There
additional.
was a question of if there was an incorrect receipt attached, how can we let the user mark it as no receipt? So you would just need to remove that receipt from the transaction, and then the user would see the option to either mark as receipt missing or they could attach the correct receipt.
So this was an expense made, transactionally. And so the user did not add a receipt. And so that's actually living as one of their open tasks to add a receipt to the transaction. So what they can see here is, in the transaction, they can just click, I don't have a receipt. And then what it will do is it will still flag the transaction for missing a receipt, but it will remove the task from the user because, they are saying they don't have one. And then the admin can make the final determination whether to approve or reject the expense.
Perfect. Thanks, Christian. We are also getting a lot of questions about getting a link to the recording. To be able to share, we will definitely share a link to the recording once the session is over. So no worries there. You can share that with any of your colleagues as needed. This slide deck, if you'd like access to the different slides that we covered today or any of the enhancements that are coming up or recently released ones, please reach out to your account manager. They'll be able to talk through that in more detail. And if there's any that you're interested in being in the beta for, so those that show beta live or beta coming soon, those are available to you to be able to be added to that beta to kind of get early access to those capabilities and features. So be sure to reach out to your account manager to be added to the beta for those.
I see a question in the chat about the second approver and whether they would receive notifications. So for that second approver, they would receive all the same notifications as that primary approver. So once it gets approved by the primary approver, it then gets routed to the secondary approver, and they receive, all the same notifications.
Okay, and then there's a question about printing receipts. This is one little trick that I learned early on, and it's a bit of a lifesaver if you're looking to bulk download receipts. Could one of you jump in and show where you can bulk download receipts?
Cool. I can share my screen here. So you'd want to filter based on, whatever you're trying to filter for. So it could be transaction date, type of transaction. I'll do this, by user. Let's try that. Cool. Let's say I have all the expenses, that I want receipts for. I'll click export. And then, yeah, little known trick. This PDF export, you're like, why would I export PDFs of expenses? What this is going to do is export images of all the transaction receipts as a PDF format. So again, filter for what you're, trying to isolate, and then just select the PDF option to get those receipt images.
Perfect. Thank you. Then I see a couple of questions about plans for custom policies or custom flags. Tara, if you want to reach out to your account manager, that one might be a little bit more specific. We'd want to understand more specifically what you're looking for, and that is pretty specific to each company. So if you want to reach out to your account manager, they can help provide some more context and what's available, and get more information. If there's certain things that you're looking for that aren't currently available, it's very likely something that's on a roadmap. So we'd want to make sure we understand exactly what you're looking for. So reach out to your account manager on that one. And then same thing for test environment or secondary environment. So that'd be a good thing to reach out to your account manager for as well, depending on what you're looking for. There is something coming soon for test environment, but would want to understand, what you're looking to achieve and if it's something that we can support with an existing platform or solution that we have. And there's a question about from Trina, when you add secondary approvers, is it for all users that approver for that approver, or is it by individual user? So that can be, you can customize that for an individual user, group of users. So you can create a custom policy. Justine or Christian, if one of you has that open and can kind of share that dual approval piece again. So you can customize that. Yep, exactly. So you can customize that by your policy rule. So you can create a custom policy, and that approver or secondary approver can be specific and unique to that individual policy rule. Okay. Justine, did you notice any other questions in here? I see a question about Zoom Workplace in alignment with this Slack enhancements. Reach out to your account manager. It's something we're kind of evaluating those based on customer requests. So current plans are for Slack. We do have some customers who are on different platforms though. So we're trying to gauge which platforms all of our customers are on and what we need to build that for. So please reach out to your account manager to get more information on that. Information on the new MCP integration settings that will be available soon. I know we have a lot of excitement about that. That will be available very, very soon. Please reach out to your account manager again to get you on the list for to be notified as soon as that is available. Right. Do you see any other ones there, Justine or Christian, that I might have missed?
Yes, there's a question about approvals for Navan physical cards or Brex cards. So for Navan cards, there's actually not really an approval process for users being able to order those. Assuming we're talking about user cards, purchase cards are slightly separate. But for user cards, users are provisioned based on policy. So you would specify, are users able to order a Navan card by default, or is it only certain groups of users who are able to order a Navan card? So that all gets set up within the policy sections under settings. So it really depends on what the user is provisioned for. That will determine whether or not they're able to order a Navan card.
Perfect. And then I do see some questions about reporting and the ability to customize some reporting. Again, this is a one that's very specific to your company and what you need. There are definitely some options that we have available, but would want to customize that specific to your needs. So if you can reach out to your account manager, they'll be able to point you in the right direction, or get you in contact with one of us on the expense team who can help get you exactly what you're looking for.
And there is a question about notifications when a trip is requested or approved. So I can show where you can set that up. So in the user created trip section, you can enable certain groups to be allowed to create expense trips. And then you can also set the approver. So it can be the user's manager, expense admin, or you can set a specific individual if you want those requests to go to a specific person.
Perfect. Thank you. Trying to filter through some of the new ones coming through. Okay, there's a question from Nicole about a time delay for swapping an approver, i.e., could you add another approver if it's over 90 days? Currently, no, we don't have an escalation approval process in place for those, but it is something that we are in the process of kind of building out and designing. So please reach out to your account manager, let them know what you're looking for so we can make sure that what we're currently building out is exactly, what you're looking for to be able to support. Let's see. If you do not have an account manager, we will reach out to you. We will reach out to you and schedule something with you. So I have your info, and we will definitely be in touch to help you out there. Um, Question from Patricia, if there's a way for Navan to flag gift card purchases. Yes, there is. Justine or Christian, do you have demo site? Perfect.
Yep. So in flag management, we have all sorts of different flags that you can adjust. You can turn them on and off. You can add variances. But the one that you're looking for is the transaction contains prohibited items. So we have three different items that you can have on or off. So alcohol, tobacco, and gift cards. So if you have this gift card checkbox, then gift card transactions would be flagged. And you also have the option to add any additional keywords. So if you want to flag VRBO or Amazon, you can also flag transactions that have that included in the merchant name, the receipt, or any of the level 3 data, and we'll flag those transactions.
Perfect. Thank you, Justine. Yolanda has a question about plans to make changes to tax review. Yes, very glad that you asked that. It is something that is currently, designs are already in the works, and that is being approved. So that will be available very, very soon. Hopefully, we'll have something to show you on the next admin office hours next month as far as that tax review. Question about the option to seeing company office when downloading transactions. That is currently not a field that is in the standard export. However, there are options available to include that in another custom field or HR attribute. So if you would reach out to your account manager, if you have an expense consultant that you're working with, please reach out to them and they can point you in the right direction for being able to support that specific field. All right. Anything else you guys see, Christian or Justine?
So there is a approver question. We have sounds like they want users manager to be the default approver. So the way that you would set that up in your policy for those specific users, you would just make sure that the approver is set as the user's manager. And we do pull that information from the user list. So I would recommend to make sure that the user list is updated and correct, so the managers are reflecting accurately for those users.
Perfect. All right. I think we got through anything that was, if you have any, if your question was not answered, it might be because it was specific to your company and something that would require an account manager, expense consultant to kind of talk through in a little bit more detail. So highly encourage you to reach out to them. We'd love to chat in more detail and make sure that you get answers to all of your questions specific to your organization. And let me know if there's anything else you see, Justine or Christian, that you think we can answer.
Yeah, there's one question on custom mileage rates in addition to the standard tables. So for the UK, France, and Germany, we do have those suggested rates that we reference from the government themselves. But those are not, hard and fast. If there are specific rates you want to add on top of those, you can still use the suggested rates, and then you can still add, whatever additional rates you need that are specific to your company.
Perfect. And then one that just came in, looking at the user's entity subsidiary specifically, in the existing interface, you can see as the admin, you have the ability to edit the columns. Christian or Justine, do one of you happen to have that open and can kind of share a screen and look at that? So you have the ability to customize the different columns that show and are available to view. So if you specifically want to look at legal entity or a subsidiary and you don't want to see some of the other fields, you can modify those columns that you're seeing. And then that setting will persist, meaning that will exist every time that you log in. You won't have to reselect those columns. Perfect.
And you can also reorder them.
All right, amazing. I think we got through those. We still have a little bit of time left. Perfect. All right, well, thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. Thank you for all the wonderful questions. Again, please reach out to your account manager for those questions that we didn't go into the detail that are specific to your organization. We'd love to be able to, help you with any of those, and we look forward to seeing everybody next month.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks, all.
everyone.